Welcome to The Reality of Family Law with Bartos and Company.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Reality of Family Law with Bartos and Company. David S. Bartos is the managing attorney at Bartos and Company LPA, helping clients across Northeast Ohio navigate divorce, custody, child support, and other difficult family law matters. I'm Sean O'Connor, and today we're talking about how courts really make child custody decisions in Ohio and the ins and outs of dealing with kids in divorce. Hi, David.
Hello, how are you today?
I am doing pretty well. Inevitably, I know, we've spoken about the fact that the kids, if there are kids involved, it tends to be one of the biggest friction points in these divorce proceedings. But, before we get into the war stories, so to speak, I'm wondering if you can tell people, how do custody and parenting time decisions work in Ohio once parents separate or file for divorce? Courts involved? How do the judges make decisions? Do they do it on their own? What do people need to know?
Usually the courts don't do anything on their own. It takes motions and filings to do all that. But the initial decisions, well, let me backtrack. One, the courts don't like to make decisions about kids at all. They try and try and try for the parties to reach an agreement. So they do everything under the sun to try to get the parties to agree. Mm-hmm. And obviously, if parties don't agree, they're going to take a look, and usually it's a short synopsis of at least getting visitation started. Usually there's something happens, big breakup, big whatever, and then one parent gets shut out. And I'll pick on another state like Florida. I had a case. We talked about Minnesota the last time, but We'll talk about Florida. We'll talk about Florida this time. So one parent took off with the kids to Florida. No job there. Just, hey, I need a fresh start. And I'm taking the kids. And that doesn't look good to the judges. Okay, so the judges. There, in the end of the case, it's governed by Ohio Revised Code 310904, which is generally shared parenting or legal custody situations. Mm-hmm. And it goes through a long laundry list of perceived important aspects of custody of each of the parents. Has anybody been charged or convicted of domestic violence or abusing a child? Who has relatives where for support? Where do the parties work? When do they work? Obviously, I had a guy that, he worked night shift.
Yeah, right.
Well, obviously, he can't have the kids overnight. Right. So he gets the kids during the day, but they're in school. So then we carve out, usually a significant weekend schedule, things like that. Yeah. That takes those into account. What the kids want, sometimes there'll be a guardian ad litem, and a guardian ad litem is an attorney essentially looking out for the best interest of the child and what the child wants. So it's also what the children want.
And that's depending on how old they are too, that's obviously comes into play, huh?
I had an 8-year-old who, I do guardian ad litem work as well. So I had an 8-year-old child that was very articulate, very smart. And it's like, why do you want to live with mom? Or, who do you want to see more? Well, I want to see mom more. Why? Well, dad calls me fat. Dad calls me this. Dad calls me that. And, mom makes sure I do my homework. It's not outwardly like that, but it's like, well, what do you do at your dad's house? Well, we play video games, him and I, and, sometimes I still stay up till 8 in the morning, 9 or, 3 o'clock in the morning. And it's like, oh, okay, well, no, that's why you want to be with mom, because she makes you do your homework. God, wonderful kid, right? Wonderful. But then you got the 17-year-olds or 16-year-olds that are saying, why do you want to live with your dad? Because he lets me play video games till 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And some of those things play a key part. And, Who communicates better? Who notifies the other parent when doctor's appointments are? That type of important stuff. Who, when you get a phone call from the court, is going to be, or from the school, who's going to be there when the child's sick? Who's going to pick up the kid? All those things play into it. I know. Let me just say a quick thing about AI.
Sure.
AI can be wonderful. It truly, really could be, until it's abused and you don't follow up with stuff. I've started using AI, which helps out my clients immensely because it saves a ton of time. Usually I'd ask my paralegal, or we'd go through together, emails and text messages saying, who's the bigger jerk in the text messages, right? So we've gotten to, it's like, hey, we'll print off all the texts, we'll print off, emails, run it through AI and say, who's being the bigger jerk? Well, dad's aggressive at this point. Mom seems cooperative on this point. And it does it by date, and it does it by all that stuff. And it's amazing for us. But there is about 168 complaints in the Ohio Supreme Court right now of attorneys using AI, and it's just wrong.
Yeah. Well,
it spits out wrong information. It can be used as a starting point, not definitely the ending point.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's maybe we'll do a different pod on this at some point, but I certainly talk to attorneys who are, their practice is dedicated to helping other attorneys properly use and navigate and integrate AI, because it's certainly happening, and it's a matter of disclosure and where it's appropriate and where it's not, and that sort of thing. So,
well, that was just a quick thing about AI, but the court, like I said, the courts don't like to make decisions about kids because we're done. We're with the judge maybe a year, and we see the judge maybe once every 2 months or once a month. The court uses lots of different tools: psychological evaluations, visitations, mediation. Like if people are somewhat close and they're just kind of tied up on a couple things, they send it to mediation where the parties get together. So there's a lot of different tools that the judges use.
sure.
But they look at a lot of they look at the status quo, who's been doing most of the work, who's taking the kids to the doctor's offices, who's doing that stuff to help determine custody, what work schedules are like, who's got family support, who has to get daycare, things like that, who shows up to parent-teacher conferences.
Well, yeah, I was wondering about, I mean, it's not always true, but I think it is always true. Certain parents are doing certain aspects, or, in a relationship, someone's handling the checkbook, so to speak. And, I was curious in terms of how, parent history of involvement, right? And that's going to come into play both in terms of past behavior, like, oh, okay, dad takes the kids to school every day on his way to work. That's good. That's like evidence, so to speak, of involvement. How does that stuff get documented, so to speak? I mean, is it really just kind of, I'll say, depositions that happen and people sort of document that this is how we've been involved with the kids over the last, let's just say, 5 years or whatever it is?
Well, unfortunately, yeah. I mean, text messages, emails, whether one party is willing to say, yeah, dad takes the kids to school every day. A lot of those things, come up in that way, and parties agree to do that. But it's a huge, huge factor in what happened before the divorce or before something was filed. That's why it's important to get to an attorney first. When things start to crack, what do I need to do? I had a dad do that, and unfortunately, dads get into I'm the provider, I'm going to work, I'm going to do this. He goes, well, if we're getting divorced, how does that look like? And luckily he came in like 2 years before something was actually filed. I said, what do I have to do? I said, start being there. Be that dad. Pretend you're single now. How would you take care of your kids How would you do that? Start doing it now. Get the kids to school. Get
Yeah.
the kids to doctor practices. Leave work early if you can. Take the kids to soccer practice, football, baseball, all those things.
Get a regular babysitter, whatever it is, where,
Be a parent
yeah.
and not just a provider. Although they both begin with P, there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference between provider
And parenting.
and parent.
Yeah. What mistakes do you see, that are going to damage someone's position in a custody dispute? I mean, in a sense, you were just speaking to the idea that if you have that kind of advance notice and you haven't already been engaged in a meaningful way, then your advice was to get engaged in a meaningful way and be a parent, but what mistakes happen in custody disputes that people should avoid?
Being a jerk. being an a-hole. Being an a-hole to the other spouse. People forget that the kids love both parents. And if you got one parent calling mom a C-U-N-T in front of the kids are going to be like, what the hell is that, Dad? What are you doing? They love that parent, and you talking to them that way, you're damaging your own relationship with your kids just to make a point against mom.
Mm-hmm.
I had recently, I had a case where child wanted to live with mom. Oh, dad went scorched earth. I'm not talking to you. I bought you all these new clothes for the new school you're going to, and you want to go and backstab me and want to stay with mom? I'm not giving you any of the clothes. Right then and there, you aren't getting custody, sir, regardless of what happens. Regardless of what happens, if you're going to be a jerk to the kids and the mom and being manipulative, no way. No way are you going to get custody.
That's an extreme, or maybe not such an extreme example, but I know that, mistakes get made. People are hearing things through the grapevine. They're finding stuff on the internet about, kids choosing where they want to live. How does it actually work in Ohio, custody cases? How do the courts handle where the kids are going to live?
For the most part, if a guardian ad litem enters into the case, try and find out what the kid wants or the child wants. Like I said, I do GAL work, so I kind of listen to all of them. The biggest mistake people make is that when they get to a certain age, and some people throw out, well, I heard when the child turns 14, they can decide where they want to live. No. Okay. The only time that really becomes a problem is when they're like 16 and a half and 17, when they're really voicing what they really want. But we've had situations where it's like, why do you want to live with your dad? Well, he doesn't make me do homework. He lets me smoke marijuana. He does this, and that's why I want to live with dad. I don't care if the child's 14, 15, 16. That's not going to fly too well with the court. Mm-hmm. And, it is pretty much age and maturity and why they want the things that they want. I had one child who played it really wanted to live with dad in Florida. Here we go. It's Florida again. Really wanted to live with dad in Florida. Dad lives in Tampa, right? And the attorney or the child out of the blue says, I want to become a veterinarian for dolphins and whales and fish and stuff like that, right? Uh-huh. And so they're up and say, that's the best place I could learn about that stuff. Down in Tampa by the ocean, and I want to live by the ocean and do this stuff. And
be a marine biologist.
Yeah, and say, I want to do all that, and I want to be on Jacques Cousteau's ship and go out, or oh, I forgot what it was, the sea where they go out to save the whales and stuff like that. I want to go out and save the whales down in Australia, between Australia and Japan. And so she played it very tight to the chest, and she never became a marine biologist. She was smart enough to link that together and say, this is why I wanted to do it. So yeah, listen, like I said, justice is what comes out of the courtroom. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. And you just got to be there, get in early, get in often, and make your arguments.
Yeah. Well, with just the couple of minutes we have left here, let's leave people with some, I guess, advice, so to speak, or what you've seen in terms of what usually helps parents reach a workable custody arrangement, without spending years fighting in court.
I hate to be cliche, communication.
Yeah.
Communication is key. Hey, Joshua is taking antibiotics. Did you give it to him? Yes, I did. I gave it to him at 5 o'clock, and I gave it to him at 9 o'clock right before he went to bed. Hey, the child has, a project due. Are you telling the other parent the day before it's due? Or are you telling them a week before or 2 weeks before, saying, hey, they got a project in 2 weeks. This is what it's about. I'm letting you know, and I will let you know again that this project is coming. Make sure you carve out, it should take about 2 to 3 hours. Make sure you carve out time to do it. It's due Monday. Maybe you can do it Friday. But the way to really work it is if the other parent says, oh yeah, that sounds good. I'll try and do that, rather than, this is my only time with my child on the weekends. I ain't doing any schoolwork and blah, 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 blah. It's your residential parent for school purposes. You get it done on your time and not my time. That isn't going to play out well for anybody.
Yeah.
The whole marriage, you wouldn't do any of this stuff. Why would you start now? It's the whole reason the marriage broke up in the first place. That's why you're here. One person not doing something to the liking of the other.
Yeah.
So
messy.
Yeah. So that's communication.
Yeah.
I mean,
and being civil.
What it is.
You know what I mean? Like, it's emotional. I get it, right? People are involved. It's messy, but it's like, you're going to get a lot more with kindness, or at least civility, right? So,
well, that along the same lines, pick your battles. I mean, these are all cliches. They're true, though. Pick your battles.
It's a negotiation.
I had to just send a client. I said, listen, before you go sending out these nasty emails, and I'm bringing up AI again, run it through AI.
Sure.
Tell them, how do I make this sound less angry? How does this sound good to send to my former wife for custody? And it spits out beautiful stuff. Review it, of course. Don't review it. But communication, civility, pick your battles.
Yeah.
And never ever say never or always, because then it becomes the fight about, well, wait a second, just 3 weeks ago I did this. It's never. It's not always. Stay away from those words.
Good advice, man. Listen, we're out of time, but great talking to you, and thanks for sharing your expertise and your point of view, and I look forward to connecting in the future.
No problem, Sean. Thank you so much.
You bet. That's it for today's episode of The Reality of Family Law with Bartos and Company. If you'd like to learn more about David and his team and the work they do, visit the website bartoscompany.com. Thanks for listening. Do us a favor, leave us a thumbs up, maybe a review, subscribe to the show, share a link with someone in your world who's dealing with some family law matters. Always appreciate it. I'm Sean O'Connor. Have a great day.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.